In today's video, I'm going to talk a little bit about a setup in FedEx. Actually, it was a request this morning in the main trading room, so I took a look at it. First, just by looking at the daily chart, what I liked about it was that we were above the 200 simple, above the 50 simple, and the 5 and the 13 are in a buy mode with the 5 above the 13. So that means that if the recent lows hold, at least our minimum target would be this 261 area. And also, it could make way for an eventual target off of this old low towards this 287 area. So let's break it down. So I went down to a 30-minute chart, and I found more price relationships to work with as far as the setup. And I found that we had nice, healthy support where you could define risk underneath at the 241.55 to 243.22 area. It included a 618 retracement, a couple of 100% projections, a 1272 extension, and a 50% retracement. And it already had started rallying, so you're a little bit late to the party at this point. But if the support remains intact, we do have the potential at least up to these initial targets of 261 and 266. But what I want to show you next is what I like to call a hurdle. Okay, and a hurdle you pretty much want to use to help confirm whether your setup is playing out or not, and it's what needs to be cleared if this is indeed going to head towards those higher targets. And I tell you, I found a lot of resistance that you need to be aware of. Actually, that one we kind of went through. But this prior low to high swing, projecting that from this low, you've got 251.62. If you run the retracements of these prior swings, okay, there's a 618 that overlaps that. And then there's also a 786 retracement of the smaller swing that overlaps that. So you can see that we're starting to run into some, or potentially run into some trouble here that we would need to clear if this setup is indeed going to play out. And if you measure 100% of the first swing up and project that from the low, that also overlaps that same area. So bottom line, this general area, 251.62, well, I've got 63 here, but pretty much the same thing, 62 to 252.03. I believe there is another extension in here, so let me just double check where that comes from. This high to this low. Nah. Anyway, I know that I do have one other level there, but bottom line, what you want to use this stuff for is you'll say, well, if my setup is going to continue to play out, we need to clear this resistance. And if it doesn't, and it starts to falter, and it starts to provide at least short-term sell triggers, one of the first things that you want to do is manage the trade, and by that I just mean ratchet up your stops. Because if it has a chance to fail here and maybe even give you a pullback like this or something more, if you're not willing to sit through that, then you should just tighten up your stops. Okay, but ideally I'd love to see this, since it is looking good on the daily chart, if we can push through this general area of resistance. I'd like to trade it for higher prices, starting with the 261 target and then the 266 target.